economic.
From Alabama's News Center, this is WSFA TV News, the 6 o'clock report. With tonight's news, Bob Howell.
Good evening. The district attorney in Oklahoma City is conducting an investigation of Alabama Attorney General Bill Baxley. The Oklahoma District Attorney, Andrew Coates, says the testimony given by Baxley last summer during an Insurance Commission hearing into the affairs of Louis Roussel. Baxley appeared as a character witness for Roussel. The Oklahoma District Attorney said that he was asked to investigate the possibility that Baxley perjured himself during that testimony. Norman Lumpkin has details.
The Oklahoma District Attorney is checking to see if Alabama's Attorney General was ever involved in business transactions with Louisiana businessman Louis Roussel, especially before Baxley testified last summer. A spokesperson for Oklahoma District Attorney Andrew Coates outlines the probe, and we apologize for the quality of some of the video of those hearings. It was supplied by an Oklahoma television station.
On Friday, January 27, the Insurance Commissioner, State of Oklahoma, referred to this office a transcript of a proceeding involving the sale of stock of United Founders Life Insurance Company to Louis J. Roussel. Mr. William Baxley testified as a character witness in that hearing. The Insurance Commissioner of the State of Oklahoma has asked us to examine the material submitted to determine whether or not perjury charges will be lodged against Mr. Baxley because of his denial of prior business dealings Mr. Roussel. That matter is now under investigation and should be concluded within the next week to 10 days.
Mr. Baxley, what do you have to say about the reports that District Attorney in Oklahoma City may try to indict you for perjury in connection with your testimony at some hearings having to do with Louis Roussel?
Norman, again, it's nothing to it. It's just like these other stories that are going around now trying to get the issue off the future campaign. I am delighted for him to look into anything he wants to. Certainly I hadn't committed any perjury, any other offense out there. The only request that I've got to make is that after he finishes looking, and I'm assuming he's an honest man, I think he's going to look thoroughly, but after he looks and makes a determination that I hadn't committed any crime and hadn't told any untruth or done any other thing dishonest or illegal, then I hope that he'll issue a statement and the press people will give that statement just as much play that Baxley's cleared as they have these ridiculous and asinine allegations that have made.
Do you have any idea where this all stemmed from, who prompted it?
Oh, yeah, I know where it came from. It's the same thing as all this business that were in the paper, pictures of my checks, and no basis to any of it. It started from the same people.
You're saying now that this is a political ploy to get you out of the 1978 governor's race. Is that correct?
Well, it's a political ploy to keep me from winning because they know, the people that are doing it know that they can't attack my record as Attorney General. They can't attack what we've done in that office. And by the same token, the other two candidates that some of the supporters are pushing this, they don't have public records they can stand on. So they're trying to divert the issue and get it off where people are talking about these charges rather than talking about how I've done as Attorney General compared to how Beasley did running the Senate and how Brewer did running the Senate when he was over there.
Who's behind this alleged ploy?
It's three newsmen and some political candidates and their supporters.
Would you name them for us?
Yes, sir. It's Harold Martin and Jay Lewis and a newsman named Les Coleman in Birmingham. And every other member of the press, without exception, in this state has been fair. They reported it fairly and unbiased.
Do you know why these people are doing it? And are they working for any particular political campaign, this Lewis, Coleman, and Harold Martin?
I don't think they're working for any particular campaign. Harold Martin is doing it because Mr. Roussel tried to buy that newspaper and fire Martin one time. And so he just got a crazy hatred for Roussel. And then back when, back in '71, when I sided with Roussel because he was right, then Martin turned on me and has been against me ever since.
What about Jay Lewis?
Well, that goes a little deeper. he's got some connections with his little news gathering outfit that at the proper time I'll be talking about them.
Would you elaborate on it for us now?
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
Would you?
Okay, Jay Lewis has started a little called Alabama News, AlaNet, Alabama News Network. And his number one stockholder is a company that's owned by the Farm Bureau people. His number two stockholder is somebody else. It's a political enemy of mine.
Who is that?
Jimmy Evans.
Montgomery County District
Montgomery County District Attorney, who got very irate and mad at me on the Whitehurst case because I wouldn't draw and quarter those policemen. That we worked out a settlement with Mayor Robinson, and Jimmy got mad about it.
The Birmingham News reporter that you named.
No, he's not Birmingham News. Birmingham News has been very fair.
I said the Birmingham News reporter that...
Les Coleman?
Yes.
I think his is not selfishly motivated like Martin's and Lewis. I think he's just been duped by the other two.
All right. You said that this was political. Are you saying that some of the people who would be your opponents in the governor's race are behind some of this?
Oh, yeah. They're the ones that put these newsmen up to do it.
Would you name them for us?
Well, it's supporters primarily of Albert Brewer.
Could you name some?
I will at the right time. Yes, sir.
Could you do it now?
I'm not going to name them right now, but you better believe I'm going to name them and document it when this is all over.
Brewer was out of town and not available for comment. Jay Lewis' response was, and I'm quoting now, "That idea is ludicrous. My information about Baxley was obtained independently, and I am not involved in politics. I've only met Al Brewer twice in my life, and we never discussed Baxley." District Attorney Jimmy Evans said in response to Baxley's comment, and once again I'm quoting, "I'm not a candidate for any office. I am not supporting any candidate for public office, and I have no interest in supporting or in the defeat of Bill Baxley in his candidacy for governor." The district attorney goes on to say, "I have not spoken with Al Brewer or anyone on any matter concerning the Brewer candidacy. To involve the district attorney's office in the governor's race is far-fetched. Mr. Baxley is obviously misinformed. As to the others mentioned, they can speak for themselves. I have no community of interest with them." Birmingham radio reporter Les Coleman said, "Mr. Baxley is using the non-denial technique in the situation. He's using political rhetoric and is not answering charges against him." Publisher Harold Martin was out of town and could not be contacted for comment. Today's announcement in Oklahoma is the second such incident concerning a law enforcement agency looking into the possibility of criminal action against Attorney General Baxley. Several weeks ago, Baxley's bank records were subpoenaed by a federal grand jury here in Montgomery after checks he'd written to a New Orleans bank owned by Louis Roussel were made public. Bob?
Thank you, Norman.
The ERA amendment needs to be ratified by 3 more states to become law. Alabama will not be included in that number, nor will it ask Congress to extend the date beyond next year to drum up the support needed for ratification. The state Senate rejected the ERA resolution on a 24-8 vote, making it a dead issue in the state. Today's vote also took some of the urgency off a rally scheduled for next Thursday morning on the steps of the state capitol. Organizers say the rally is still on. Senator U.W. Clement of Birmingham, sponsor of the resolution, urged its adoption. Opponents argued it was unwise and unnecessary. Senator Albert McDonald questioned if the resolution came out of the Rules Committee in proper fashion.
But I submit to you that your membership would have had to vote to report it without recommendation. I'd like to know how the Rules Committee voted. And Mr. President, I think that I am in order and moving to recommit.
The vote to report the resolution out of committee was 4-3.
This is not going to accomplish anything by recommitting it. It's Senator McDonald, for some reason, don't want to vote on it. This is not going to void it because I think the Rules Committee would meet and report it out. I think it's such of importance. I personally oppose it. I'm going to vote against it on this floor, but I think it's of such of importance to the people of Alabama and to the members of this body. This is one issue that everybody ought to have the pleasure of voting on, and I'd hope that we wouldn't recommit it and we would vote on it.
Clement noted that 35 states have ratified the Equal Rights Amendment, and he is confident that it will ultimately become law, and it doesn't really matter what Alabama does. The vote of 24-8 was finally cast after Lieutenant Governor Jerry Beasley jokingly asked the clerk to lock the doors to the Senate.
Mr. Proctor, Mr. Roberts, Mr. St. John.
8 ayes and 24 noes. The resolution fails.
An effort to bring the lib bill up out of order in the House failed on a 66-30 vote. The vote shows where the sentiment of the House is on the lid bill, since 63 votes are needed for its passage. The House then got tied into hot debate over House Bill 119, providing cost of living increases for retired teachers and some other state employees. Efforts to carry the measure over for another legislative day were discouraged by the bill's sponsor, fearing it would kill the bill entirely. An amendment to the measure offered by Charles Whatley of Opelika would grant cost of living increases on a descending scale. It would be beneficial to teachers who retired some years ago. The increase would be as high as $100 for those who retired prior to 1963 and would be scaled down to $20 per month for those who retired since 1965. The proposal changes the original bill and requires a fiscal note before its passage if the House accepts the Whatley amendment.
In committee action today, the Senate Finance and Taxation Committee reported out a bill granting tenure to school support personnel. The same measure failed twice to get out of the House Ways and Means Committee. Another measure increasing the Teacher Tenure Commission from 7 to 11 members was reported out and sent to the Senate for debate. From the state legislature, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
First of all, the ordinance would simply provide for city control and funding of the 6-man volunteer fire department. It was previously supported solely by private contributions. But City Councilman and Chairman of the Public Safety and Welfare Committee, Charles Carroll, told the crowd that since the incorporation of Millbrook, those donations have almost ceased. Thus, the city-funded department was necessary to sustain adequate fire protection. But residents of outlying areas of Millbrook, not within the city limits, feared the new department would jeopardize their protection. Carroll attempted to calm those residents down, saying the change would not affect their protection at all.
I know rumors don't necessarily indicate that fact, but the goal of the committee is to give as much fire protection to as many people as we possibly can.
Carroll added the most important aspect of the city control of the department would be an anticipated decrease in fire insurance. The matter will be decided at the next City Council meeting, February 13th. This is Dave Rickey, WSFA TV News, Millbrook.
The whole purpose and the governor's office having the troopers involved has been for the purpose of protection of life and health in the first place, and then the property of people in this state. We do not desire and do not want to see anyone hurt in any manner by any group against another, and we're not involved in the matter of the strike. We're just trying to enforce the laws of the state. And as the governor of this state, that's my duty and responsibility. I have been a friend of the coal miners in Alabama, and I'm very proud of it, because the overwhelming majority of them, in my judgment, do not approve of this small group of up to around 500 that have been involved. But it has provoked a number of situations in Alabama that could be very serious. And the purpose, as I said in the beginning, is to protect life and safety and health and property of not only those involved, including the troopers, the union miners and the non-union miners, but the general public at large. And for that reason, we've taken the action. We have thought of all options in the matter, because we have intelligence that this roving group will continue to be operating. We understand that there's a mine that's mining coal for TVA on government, which is on government property in Jackson County. There's a possibility that they may be there. We also know that the TVA has informed us they're going to send some security officers which are trained in crowd control to the situation, and they have some already en route for the purpose of evaluating the situation at the present time. I have talked with the White House about this matter, informing them that there is a shortage of coal among many schools in Alabama and possibly some hospitals, and of course it will not be long before some of the generating power units might be involved, plus a number of industries as throughout the country. I again want to say that I hope that everybody involved will use restraint and sanity, because we intend, of course, to enforce the law. And as the governor of this state, I have studied all options available to me for the protection of the people in this state, along with enforcement of the laws. And at the present time, we are using, of course, the state troopers.
Have you been in contact with any of either the mine leaders or the labor leaders?
I've talked with some of the, I talked with the mine leaders around 10 days ago, and other people in our government have talked with them lately, and they say that they did not approve, but they couldn't control their membership. That's the answer, of course, that they gave us. Therefore, if they cannot control them, then it's up to the state of Alabama to take whatever action that we can, as I've said a moment ago, for protection of the people of Alabama. I'm not involved in the matter of the strike. I do know that I hope it's settled soon to both sides' satisfaction.
Along with unsolved burglaries and other street crimes, the department's problems range from squabbles among officers to political interference by Tuskegee City Council members. The people in Tuskegee are complaining that the men park their patrol cars in front of private homes while they are supposed to be on patrol. White Tuskegee citizens say members of the all-black Tuskegee Police Department are discourteous to them. And then there's another thorn in the side of the city's law enforcement. People who live in a subdivision not far from this airport have told stories of hearing planes making pre-dawn departures and landings. They say they've also heard a motorcycle come onto this field and pick up a package and leave. They suspect that heroin and cocaine is being dropped here on this field. One pilot who's used Moton Field for some time says it's the perfect place for a clandestine drug deal.
As far as I can see, there'd be absolutely no risk whatsoever, because the place is deserted at night. And it's ideal for such a thing to take place, because you have the lights, you have the beacon, you have the radio, instrument approach, and everything. A perfect setup for such an action if someone wanted to do that.
What kind of security do you have here?
I don't know of any.
Our committee, I would say, is almost unanimous in opposition to the just giving away of the canal, and certainly to pay Panama to take it is ridiculous. You see, if you really get down to the bedrock of it, Norman, when Trujillo's took over, he owed about $200 million in Panama, less than $200 million. Today, he owes over $2 billion. That's 10 times the national debt since he's been there that he's created. Most of this is owed to New York banks. 5 banks in New York own most of the paper on the canal. And if you really get behind the woodwork there, you'll find that a lot of vested interest in the on the American side of it are your bankers that are looking after saving their skin, that they're trying to get written into the law enough provisions so that they get their money back. And that's part of what this payment is to Panama, even though we're giving it away, is to save about 5 New York banks.
Montgomery. He has been a tremendous friend to us.
And therefore, the active involvement of people such as
the sacredness of life and
qualities of men and women is unconstant in some role they enact in life. And I thought it interesting that the distinguished Senator Sam Erwin, when the courts interpret a law, they look by what? When the ERA was introduced to the Senate, Senator Sam Erwin offered a number of amendments or guarantees.
Three of the C-141 Air Command jets returned to the Air Guard facilities of Montgomery's Danley Field today, with 5 more plane loads expected tomorrow. Almost 300 Alabama Guardsmen joined about 12,000 other soldiers at Niagara Falls for Operation Empire Glacier. The exercise was designed to train personnel in joint tactics, techniques, and procedures in extreme cold conditions. But in the balmy 40-degree weather here in Montgomery, Group Commander Lieutenant Colonel William Turnipseed said the weather was so extreme at times, the operation had to be shut down.
Got a little blizzard that really shut us down for about 2 days. We had to cease flying operations, but after the blizzard was over, we were able to get right back at operation within about a half a day.
You see missions such as these in the future?
Yes, I hope so. Hope to get more like this and some overseas for this unit.
What do you think were perhaps some of the primary accomplishments that the men and women, I should say, got out of this exercise?
Well, I really think the big thing that we all learned is how to take care of ourselves, how to take care of our equipment, and how to get our mission accomplished in the extreme cold conditions that we had facing us.
Turnipseed added the most important aspect of the mission was to teach the men and women of the Guard how to keep their morale high, even when the temperature dipped very low. This is Dave Rickey, WSFA TV News, Danley Field.
Years ago, the medical doctors thought that bunch of sailors were crazy because they'd take some limes and they quit dying of scurvy. All in the world it was an item in it, the vitamin C that's...
That layer trail is not the answer, but it is a key. And it's a key that we can use. And it's a key not to destroy everything else, but it'll ignite the movement. I feel like it would be a fantastic supportive treatment along with the metabolic toward the correction of the problem. If I were to show you a key to a car, you would say that's a precision instrument. It's worthless by itself, yet when you put it in the ignition of a car, it moves it. It's a beautiful movement that carries this vehicle from one place to another. I'm fearful that we are failing to use the key of Laetrile, which by itself is nothing but a precision instrument, to help the cancer move toward the answer that we really need.
Faith healers and all kinds of charlatans have been preying upon this particular disease for years. Carbizin is the best example. About 10 years ago, that was introduced in the Senate of the United States as a cure, and was pushed by quite a few senators. Finally, and after millions of dollars and hundreds of people who testified they were cured, it was analyzed by impartial people, and it was found to be mineral oil. And so it completely folded, and it isn't on the market at all. Prior to that, we had Harry Hoxsey's herb medicine back in the 50s. And this sold millions and millions of preparations. Again, the same old arguments. They would get people up to testify who had been cured without any proof that they even had cancer, or if they had cancer, they'd already had conventional treatment as well. So for those reasons, I'm from Missouri. I'd like to see some proof before we legislate, pass a bill to put the sanctity of the state on it and say that we're going to make it legal. There should be some definite evidence that the thing is useful, plus the fact it should not be a threat to people's lives, which it is.
So when my husband found out that he had cancer, we had already investigated this, and we did not just jump into it. We thoroughly investigated it, and I've got stacks of books and stacks of articles. And one thing I would like to submit to the committee, it was stated that there has not been any experiment that has given positive results with Laetrile. It has. It was released by one of the men said, the Loyola University biologist. Laetrile cured cancer in mice. This was done by a doctor. It was released. It was picked up by Paul Harvey. We've had people calling us from all over the United States telling us and sending us these articles that it has definitely worked in an experiment. Most of the experiments that they say do not work, they have tried it with Laetrile alone. You've heard these people say that they don't take just Laetrile. It's that key. Laetrile, enzymes, diet.
The NCI is conducting a retrospective study of the patients who think they've responded to see if all of the facts have been presented. If they do, there'll be a clinical trial under appropriate controls, and that's fine. It's this extra legal, political, emotional attempt to throw aside science and professionalism that makes this bill a very bad bill.
Hearings before Senator Kenny's Health Committee in the Senate of the United States, both sides gave the same similar testimony, and an agreement was hammered out that within the next few months, controlled studies would be held as to the efficacy of Laetrile, and both sides agreed to abide by the decision. Therefore, what is the hurry? The problem will be solved in the next few months to a year. Why pass a law and put it on the books that may be completely useless?
It was an oversight by those on Capitol Hill, but it apparently was caught in time by the Revenue Department before it cost the state many millions of dollars and drained the Special Education Trust Fund. Another advantage to the state is that the act, which provides for repealing the requirements for filing state personal income taxes, does not take effect until May the 16th. The State Revenue Department became aware of the error in the new criminal code on Monday, and the department is now working with the state legislature to correct that error. Just how they will go about making the correction is not known at this time. Our knowledge about the oversight came too late today to talk with revenue officials. By the time we arrived here on Capitol Hill, the workday was over.
The state expects to collect some $370 million in personal income taxes this fiscal year. So you can see it would have left quite a hole in the state education budget. Now here's how I understand the situation tonight. Senate Bill 33, which passed the legislature last year, became Act number 607. It created the new criminal code. Section 394, Title 51 of that act, set out some repealers in the collection of revenues, and the personal income tax was included. Again, the act does not become effective until May the 16th. That should give the state legislature ample time to correct a costly oversight. The lawmakers must act, however, by the middle of April when the current legislative session ends. And this being an election year, there are not too many people in favor of a special session of the legislature. But the state does face a serious situation, and that situation they face now until the code can be amended. That raises another question. Can it be amended without a constitution referendum and a vote of the people? The legislature levies taxes. The Constitution gives the state the privilege to collect taxes. Reporting live from the state capitol, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News. All right. Do you want me to go? Let me do the last. Let's see. The legislature levies taxes. The Constitution gives the state the privilege to collect them. I'll do that, okay? I'm George Mitchell, WSFA TV News, the state capitol. And you'll have that overlaid. Is he rolling? The legislature levies the taxes, and the Constitution gives the state the privilege of collecting them. From the state capitol, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News. Okay, he's doing some switching around here. Is that good enough, Dick? Zoom in on the building after 10 seconds. Yeah, how's that, Dick? All right, pull the screen with the building. Back. Is that enough?